They are running at full speed. And at the center of these investigations stands Abdul B., 21 years old. Once again, briefly summarized, what is known about Abdul B.? So, what the Interior Minister here also just has confirmed once again is that this man has already been sentenced to a prison term of 1 year and 10 months, which has been suspended on probation. The Public Prosecutor's Office has, however, filed an appeal against this. He is German, born as a German, but has a Lebanese background. The security authorities, they had him on the umbrella as one who is counted among the Islamist scene, who was considered radicalized. Exactly. We are also seeing the picture of Abdul B. again, and the police warn whoever sees him. The man can be dangerous. He can be armed. Whoever sees him, dial 110 and notify the security authorities. Many heartfelt thanks to Claudia Kornmeier for this information from Berlin Tiergarten. Federal Interior Minister De Brint has classified the attack on the CSD in Berlin as an Islamist attack. Germany has in the past years repeatedly become the target of such terror attacks, with dead and injured. The problem for the security authorities, the perpetrators often acted alone, and they had rarely been conspicuous before. Here is a chronology. Cologne, July 2006. Germany narrowly escapes a bomb attack on 2 regional trains. One of the perpetrators, Yusuf H., deposited an explosive device at Cologne Central Station in a regional train to Koblenz, hidden in a rolling suitcase. Only because of a technical error does it not lead to a consequential explosion. A few weeks later, Yusuf H. is arrested. In 2008, the higher regional court, Düsseldorf, sentences him to life imprisonment. September 2007. In a vacation home in the Sauerland town of Medebach, security forces take the 2 Germans Fritz G. and Daniel S., as well as the Turkish citizen Adem I., into custody. Together they form the so-called Sauerland Group. At least 150 people were supposed to die in car bomb attacks, according to the plans. The 3 men and 1 accomplice are sentenced in March 2010 to prison terms of 5, sentenced to 12 years. March 2011. At Terminal 2 of Frankfurt Airport, 2 U.S. soldiers are killed by shots. 2 others are injured. Responsible, the young Kosovo-Albanian Arid youth. The act had an Islamist background. Arid youth had gradually radicalized via the internet. But he was a lone perpetrator without connection to terror networks like Al-Qaeda. In 2012, he is sentenced to life imprisonment. July 2016. In the Franconian town of Ansbach, a 27-year-old Syrian blows himself up. He had previously tried to gain access to a music festival, but was not let in. He then detonates the explosive device near the ticket office and injures 15 people. He himself dies. Until immediately before the act, he is said to have had via mobile phone contact with the so-called Islamic State. Later, the investigators find on the device a video in which he pledges allegiance to the terrorist organization. Berlin, December 2016. Shortly after 8 p.m., a truck speeds across the Christmas market at Breitscheidplatz. In the process, 11 people were killed, more than 50 partially seriously injured. On the passenger seat, the investigators find a 12th fatality, the actual driver of the Polish truck. The attacker, the Tunisian Anis Amri, escapes initially unrecognized. Later he is publicly wanted. Amri's flight ends 3.5 days later in northern Italy, where he is in a shootout by an Italian policeman shot dead. Subsequently, his mouthpiece Amex publishes a video in which Amri to his leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi swears allegiance. October 2020. In Dresden city center, a man attacks two homosexual tourists with a knife. A 55-year-old from Krefeld dies, later in the hospital. His 53-year-old companion from Cologne survives seriously injured. Soon thereafter, a 20-year-old Syrian is arrested. The young man has a criminal record. In 2018, he was by the Higher Regional Court of Dresden, among other things, for recruiting members and supporters of a terrorist organization, abroad sentenced to a juvenile penalty. He was considered a threat and was under supervision after his release from prison. For the knife attack, he is sentenced to life imprisonment. April 2022. The Syrian Mahdi kills a passerby in the Duisburg Old Town with numerous knife stabs and initially escapes. 9 days later, he stabs in a gym indiscriminately at several men, injures them in part life-threateningly. The federal prosecutor's office charges him with murder and attempted murder. The Higher Regional Court of Düsseldorf sentences him finally to life imprisonment and orders the subsequent preventive detention. In the trial, D had pledged allegiance to the so-called Islamic State. May 2024. On the Mannheim marketplace, a man with a hunting knife attacks the organizers of an Islam-critical rally. The Afghanistan-born Suleiman A. injures several people in the process. After a scuffle, he also stabs the Russian police officer Ruben Lauer. 2 days later, the police officer succumbs in the hospital to his severe injuries. The federal public prosecutor general evaluates the act as religiously motivated, draws the investigation proceedings because of the special meaning in itself, ensues a. The Higher Regional Court of Stuttgart convicts him, among other things, to life imprisonment for murder and determines the particular gravity of the guilt. With that, he has no chance to be released early after only 15 years. August 2024. In Karlsruhe, Isa Al-H is being brought before the investigating judge at the Federal Court of Justice. 2 days earlier, he is said to have in Solingen with a knife stabbed visitors of a city festival, motivated by a radical Islamist attitude. 3 people died in the attack. 8 people were partially seriously injured. The so-called Islamic State claims the act for itself. The Higher Regional Court of Düsseldorf sentences Isa Al-H in September 2025 to life imprisonment, determines the particular gravity of the guilt, and orders the subsequent placement in preventive detention. September 2024. In Munich, a young man shoots at police officers very close to the Israeli Consulate General and the NS Documentation Center. The officers return fire. The man is hit and dies. It concerns the Austrian-born, Bosnian origin Emre I. He is said to have already come to the attention of the authorities in Austria due to possible Islamist radicalization. February 2025, Munich again. A man in a car speeds in the city center from behind into a demonstration by the Verdi trade union. 56 participants are in part seriously injured in the attack. Two of them, a mother and her 2-year-old child, succumbed to their injuries 2 days later. The federal public prosecutor considers the act to be religiously motivated and is taking over the investigation due to the special significance of the case against Farid N., the then 24-year-old driver of Afghan descent. In January 2026, the main proceedings began before the Higher Regional Court of Munich. May 2025. In front of a bar in the city center of Bielefeld, a man walks in the early morning hours with bladed weapons at a group of people. He injures 5 people. 2 of them are temporarily in mortal danger. At the crime scene, the investigators find personal documents. Barely 2 days later, the suspect is arrested. Mahmoud M., a 35-year-old Syrian with a German residence permit, is placed in pre-trial detention. The federal public prosecutor general classifies the act as religiously motivated and takes over the investigations because of the special significance of the case. A suspected attack, like the one yesterday evening in Berlin, must of course be cleared up. But which authorities in Germany are, when responsible for that? Information from Kolja Schwartz from our legal editorial team. If a crime is committed in Germany, 3 different actors are involved in the investigation: the public prosecutor's office, the police, and the courts. Initially, the local authorities are always responsible, because justice is fundamentally a state matter. Actor 1. The Public Prosecutor's Office. The public prosecutors responsible at the crime scene lead an investigation proceeding and investigate with the help of the police. The Federal Public Prosecutor's Office in Karlsruhe takes over these investigations if it is responsible according to the law. It is therefore a public prosecutor's office for certain cases. Jens Rommel is currently the Federal Public Prosecutor General. He heads the Federal Public Prosecutor's Office. He is responsible, for example, for criminal offenses against internal security, when a terrorist organization is behind the act, or in the case of individual perpetrators, if the act is suitable to impair the existence or security of the state, and the case is of particular importance. Already upon suspicion that it is one of these cases, the Federal Prosecutor's Office takes over the investigations. It then, for example, orders searches, applies for arrest warrants, or issues a call out for public manhunt. The Federal Public Prosecutor General leads the Federal Public Prosecutor's Office, an authority with about 350 employees, of which a good 180 are public prosecutors, who are involved in the investigation. To conduct the investigations, it usually commissions the Federal Criminal Police Office. Actor 2. The police. The BKA assumes the role of the police, carries out searches, or arrests suspects. Holger Munch is the president of the Federal Criminal Police Office, headquartered in Wiesbaden. In part, the Federal Public Prosecutor's Office commissions, but also the state offices of criminal investigation. Actor 3. The courts. If it concerns an investigation by the Federal Public Prosecutor's Office, the investigating judge at the Federal Court of Justice is responsible. For certain investigative measures, he must give his consent. For example, in the case of searches or telephone surveillance. Furthermore, he issues an arrest warrant if there is urgent suspicion of a crime against an accused person. If the accused are arrested, they are brought to Karlsruhe and brought before the investigating judge.